Hey everybody, how are you all doing today? Going to do something that might sound a little bit weird, but we're going to recap the 2021 New York City Marathon. And the reason that I'm going to do this is I've been getting a lot of comments recently for people running their first New York City Marathon on the old video from last year. So I want to turn it into a little bit of a course preview. No music on this video, just the sights and sounds of the actual New York City Marathon from last year. So with that, let's dive right in. Whether you do choose to take the bus or the ferry to the starting line in Fort Wadsworth on Staten Island in New York City, it can take anywhere from 1 to 2 hours, sometimes even more if the traffic gets really bad. I've always gone fairly early. I've never started any later than wave 2 for the New York City Marathon myself, so I've always been on the bus probably before, I'd say 6:30, 6:45 at the latest in the morning from the New York Public Library at Bryant Park. I've actually had a situation where it dropped me off pretty far from the starting line and we had to walk a little bit to the start village, so it's just important to get there early. Once you're in there, there's plenty of space in that starting village to take some time for yourself, lay down, relax, make sure you've gone to the bathroom, fuel up, whatever you want to do. Now the first thing you do is go right over the Verrazano Bridge, leaving Staten Island into Brooklyn. This is a steep climb. It's sometimes a little bit understated. You don't really realize how much you're climbing in this starting moment. You can see the bridge itself is pretty tall and you're starting pretty low down, especially if you're down in that green wave on the bottom level. Obviously you do stay underneath the top floor of the orange and the blue waves, but still you're really getting a good climb in there. So it's important to go out slow and really just reserve your energy and not be too worried about GPS connection if you're on the bottom level as well. Now, the first 3 miles or so of the New York City Marathon are pretty quiet. You can see the initial residential areas in the southernmost parts of Brooklyn where, yeah, there's some people out there. There's, the chance to really interact with the crowd if you want to give people a high five or smack one of the signs that some of the kids have out for you, but you're really not in the, really commotion and energy of the New York City Marathon just yet. One thing that not everybody realizes is that the blue, green, and orange waves all technically take a slightly different route in the beginning. This all comes together by mile 5 in Brooklyn once you hit 4th Avenue and make your way up towards Queens. This on 4th Avenue is really where you're going to start to see the energy and the people come alive cheering for you all the way down to the finish line. You're going to make your way up 4th Avenue through a whole bunch of different neighborhoods, and for a moment I'll just let you go ahead and take a listen at all the energy. And this is a relatively flat road, so there's really nothing to see or for me to tell you. Just take a look and listen for a minute.
Great job! Great job!
Now, as you get towards Barclays Center, this is where you're going to eventually make your right onto Lafayette Avenue. And this is again where there's a big center of people, a lot of energy, bands, stages, and this is right around, I'd say, mile 8 of the race. So the whole time you're coming down 4th Avenue, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of people, a lot of spectators, a lot of kids with signs, giving out whatever they can, trying to interact with the runners. It's a lot of fun, but you really start to enter a big area of energy and people again, with just a lot of entertainment and other things going on around Barclays Center. From there, when you do make your right onto Lafayette Avenue, even though this is a residential area, it is packed with people and they are spilling into the streets. You can see that again. That's really a big feature area of the New York City Marathon. I always think it's a lot of fun. One of my favorite, there's probably 2 of my favorite places, and they're not like around the start or finish. One of them happens to be Lafayette Avenue. There's always a lot of energy and a lot of people out there cheering for you. And it's just before a little bit of a dead zone, which you'll see in just a second. So it really just helps energize you and get you really from there at around mile 10 to the Pulaski Bridge, which is getting you into Queens by around mile 13 or so. So it kind of carries you for quite a while after that big energetic moment on Lafayette Avenue. Now, like I mentioned, there is really just one quieter area that I can think of along the New York City Marathon route, and it's right here at around mile 10, 11, 12. And it's fine. It's still an area to really collect your thoughts and take a moment to take in how you're feeling, how your shoes are feeling, if you need to use the bathroom or whatever it might be. It's a moment just to gather your head and really reflect on what's happened so far in what's just about the first half of the race and with another half of the race to go. As you make your way through the northern parts of Brooklyn, the energy picks up again, lots of crowds, still a relatively flat area. When you hear about the hills of the New York City Marathon, it's really not so bad for most of the race. It's very select areas like the Verrazano Bridge, like the 59th Street Bridge, like the 5th Avenue Hill, and some of the bridges into the Bronx. Those are the select areas in Central Park, as well as rolling hills. Those are the areas where you get a lot of hills during the race, but you don't need to worry too much about a hilly race the entire time. Everybody feels like crap when they're going up the bridge. It's really not the most pleasant feeling, especially if you're pushing yourself at full race pace, but you get that long downhill as well, and you'd actually be really surprised, I promise, at how well you feel when you're coming back down the other sides of those bridges, because it really gives you a moment to let your heart rate come down, gather your breath, and you can go another 8-9 miles without thinking about it. So like I said, here is that downhill off the bridge, and I'll just give you a moment to listen. You can hear the roar of the crowd as you come down the bridge, so you really get ready again to just get slapped in the face with noise and energy. There's bands, there's people, there's everybody out, eating, drinking, celebrating the marathon on 1st Avenue in Manhattan, and that's where you go as soon as you get off of that 59th Street Bridge. Now, that long stretch in Manhattan on 1st Avenue, again, very, very energetic, very, very crowded. A tough place for your family to see you, honestly, unless they get there nice and early. It's just very busy, lots of restaurants and bars and things in that particular area, so it can be a little bit tough for family and spectators, but great energy for you as you get to mile 16, just coming off of that bridge. A little bit of a rolling hill situation up and down First Avenue, so you just kind of gather yourself, and you'll really, like I said, in my experience, feel pretty good on First Avenue if you've used your energy correctly through this point of the race and you didn't overdo it going on the uphill of the bridge. You just settled in and then waited for that downhill to bring your heart rate down again. Now between miles 19 and 20, you're going to go over the Willis Avenue Bridge. This again, now that you're just approaching mile 20, can be a tough one. It's not too great as far as the elevation gain, but it's 20 miles into a race at full race pace, and it could be a little bit challenging. Again, don't get too discouraged. There is a downhill on the other side, and at that point, you're going to be in the Bronx. Now the Bronx, in my opinion, through the years has really brought their energy a little bit more each time I've raced this race. So at this point, it's still one of the quieter areas of the marathon for sure. And again, mile 20 though is a good time to check in on how you're feeling, really decide how much you can kick in that final 10K. So it does give you that chance again to really sit in your own mind, not worry so much about the crowd, not get distracted by that extra energy, and really find what you're going to do and how you're going to push for that last 10K of the race. Now, at this point in mile 21, when you're back in Manhattan, the energy only grows more and more as you go down the road. You're coming south all the way down 5th Avenue. Like I said, there is that 5th Avenue hill that you have coming up right before you enter Central Park. That's about mile 23 during the race. So you do have 2 miles where you're back in Manhattan. You'll see those crowds growing. You'll be able to feed off of that energy, and you'll be making your way towards that final hill climb and then into Central Park, where the crowds really just start to squish together, and everyone's trying to get a look at the runners. So things get a little bit tight and a little narrow, as you'll see in just a moment. It is a really cool feeling. It's like going out of a tunnel for a big football game or something like that. There's just fans and crowd cheering. And I always say the New York City Marathon, or really any of the marathon majors, are the one chance in most of our lives where it feels like you're a professional athlete and there's millions of people who are interested in watching and screaming for whoever you are out there on the course. And, stick your name on your bib, stick your name on your shirt with duct tape or some kind of marker, and people will shout your name all day long. So again, really unique experience, and just something that you really don't get anywhere else besides running these major marathons for, again, most of us. Miles 24 to 26 in Central Park. Again, this is what I was talking about with the spectators really kind of mushing into the course. There's really no more barriers. I don't know what determines for the New York City Marathon where there will be barricades and where there will not be. This seems like an obvious place to put barricades, but they just don't. So people are in the road, people are there cheering you on. For the most part, I've never felt unsafe. It's just a cool experience, again, running through those crowds. Obviously, the finish is an amazing feeling. You start to approach that final stage and your turn at Columbus Circle, and you go down, I forget what they call it. They might call it like the something of champions or something like that, but they have all the country flags, and it's a barricaded area once again into that finish line. About 800 meters is that final push in Central Park. It is a bit of a hill climb, but of course in those last 800 meters, you are all out effort at this point. There really is nothing that you're going to leave in the tank. So it doesn't really matter if you're going up a hill, it's still an effort-based, all-out kind of situation. Lots of fun. People will be in the stands if you are in the earlier waves. I can't really speak to the later ones, but I will say this, that I've always thought that the New York City Marathon has an amazing job from the spectators and also the organization, New York Road Runners itself, at keeping that support and that energy there for, even the last runners on the court. So don't be too worried, I don't think, if you're in a later wave. Just, be prepared for that energy and that excitement all the way through.
Great job. There's Ken, running with Team Producer David, Janet, Patrick. We've got Beach. And Devin. Nice job, Nancy. All right, let's hear it for Orlando. It's not almost. Carla. Zachary. George. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So that's it. I'll keep it at that. It's just a preview again of the New York City Marathon course. This was footage from 2021, just a year ago. So again, subscribe down below. Give me a like for this video if you made it all the way through. And I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.